not contribute, that are not active in the working world, we're not even counted. Like, did you know that disabled people are not counted in the unemployed category? So what this means is there are a good 10 million of us on SSI and another like 15 million on SSDI that are not even counted as unemployed, but we exist and we are impoverished. And the only way we cannot be impoverished is if we marry out of it, quote unquote, or we have a family that supports us and is very sneaky about it. The problem with this is it doesn't make the situation better. Now, granted, I do have a husband who works, so I'm driving a car right now that he's paying for. Everything you see is what he paid for, and I have Medicare in my disability check, but it couldn't pay for enough food, it couldn't pay for gas, there's no way. And that's unlivable. And the average taxpayer seems to be okay with that, or they're not upset enough about it to want to change it. And that scares the hell out of me, because the people that are going to be paying for disabled people and the retired in the future are the people that are working right now. And the people that are working right now have student loans. The people who are working right now are underpaid. And the people who are working right now are struggling. Worse than struggling. They're the working poor. And so they're not going to want to have their payroll taxes go up to pay for someone like me, to be able to live on my own and not rely on my husband. And a lot of them are like, oh, you should be happy because you're not in poverty because you live with your husband. Well, but that's not good for a relationship. That's still unequal. Because I cannot survive on my own. If my husband decides he wants to beat me, he can beat me. There would be nowhere for me to go. Because there's no more low-income housing. There's no more. The waiting list for subsidized housing is acres long. They closed it. There's no more room. If I suddenly needed a place to go, I would be out on the street or worse. And I am thin and I use a wheelchair. I'm a fucking target. So thank goodness he doesn't beat me, but it still gnaws at our relationship that my income is so tiny that I can't really contribute. And his parents never let me forget that. Keep that in mind. His parents see me as white trash, even though I'm mixed race and whatever. They still see me as trash, and they never let me forget it. So it gnaws at your dignity. And the working class, they don't even bat an eye. It's like people expect someone who's disabled to be poor. It's bar none. You think about it. When you think of a disabled person, do you think of somebody who is able to live on their own, who can afford food, can afford gas? Like, a lot of people don't even think people in wheelchairs drive cars. So that's a problem. So you got the systemic idea that's been programmed in our society that says, oh, you're disabled, so you're going to be poor. And you're underground. Like, we're like a fucking unicorn, where if they see me go into a store by myself, it's like a big thing, because it's like, oh my God, you have your own money, you can go to the store. Well, yeah. So that's a problem. That's why I'm constantly complaining, even though technically I'm not in poverty because I'm not homeless, and technically, I don't have food stamps because I'm married. I don't qualify for food stamps. I don't qualify for Medicaid. I don't have a psychiatrist. There's a lot of things I don't have because I don't qualify because I'm married. And doesn't solve the problem. And I should be happy. I should be relaxed. I should be like, okay, I made it. I married somebody who can take care of me, and he cares about me, and he loves me, and all that. But imagine that dynamic. There's a reason why poor people marry other poor people. It's because it's really hard to marry somebody wealthier than you. Really, really, really hard. Especially in our society that values money and your family more than anything. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. So it's a problem. And yes, I am extremely, extremely grateful for where I am. But how can I relate to other disabled people? And a lot of us disabled people are abandoned by our families because they don't want to care for us. They know we're expensive to take care of, so they abandoned us. So a lot of disabled people don't get an inheritance. My inheritance was actually stolen from me by my mother and my grandmother. Fun fact. I had an inheritance handed down to me from my great-grandmother, and my mom and grandma took it and ran with it. Didn't leave me anything. My father told me that. He said, oh yeah, your great-grandma, she put that cottage in Oregon in your name, and your mom and your grandma ran off with that money, and you never saw any of it. I'm so sorry. And also my child support that my father sent to me was taken by the state of Alaska to pay for my food stamps. So a lot of us disabled people that grow up in poverty, we don't have shit to our name because it's usually taken from us out from before we can even see it. So that's why I'm complaining. It's not to be a party pooper. It's not to overlook the blessings that I have and a loving partner that does keep me afloat, but it's the inequality, and it's the constant gnawing, the constant feeling that I don't deserve him. And his family doesn't let me forget that. They constantly say I don't deserve him because they grew up poor. It has nothing to do with my character, has nothing to do with what a good person I am. It's everything to do with money. Because money is the currency. So if you can call your congressperson and do anything to change this for disabled people so that it helps the least of us, because guess what? If they're going to do it to me, they're going to do it to you. What if you suddenly got in a car accident and lost your legs? You would be in the same situation I'm in.